and start recording on Ustream. So we're on Ustream as well for anybody who wants to go there to see. Actually, I'm sitting in a health food store. We're going to talk about health today, actually, unless somebody wants to call in. Let's see here. This weekend, although the website has to be changed, forbiddenknowledge.info is the main website, and the show that we're going to be at this weekend will be Lansing, Michigan. Actually, it's Mason, which is just south of Lansing. Lansing, Michigan. For those of you who don't know, I go to various shows all over the country, gun shows, preparedness expos, got a bunch of preparedness expos coming up. Check out forbiddenknowledge.info to find out the details. Give me a couple hours to fix up the website because I have the wrong venue on the website as far as the show this weekend. If you're listening, that is, again, on February the 18th. We are live at 7:03 p.m. Eastern Time. As I said, we're going to talk about health today. If you're on Ustream, you'll see that we're in a health store, and I have a guest here with me. We're going to just have a general chat about general things, but I wanted to bring this up because I didn't bring this up to you last time or the time before. It's been out for a couple of weeks now. It's actually from February 4th. It's a story that I first saw in the New York Times. New York Attorney General Eric Schneiderman asks major retailers to halt sales of certain herbal supplements. Now, New York State Attorney General Eric T. Schneiderman announced that his office sent letters to 4 major retailers, and those would be GNC, Target, Walmart, and Walgreens, for allegedly selling store brand herbal supplements in New York that could neither be verified to contain the labeled substance or which were found to contain ingredients not listed on the labels. The letter sent February 2nd called for the retailers to immediately stop the sale of certain popular products, including echinacea, ginseng, St. John's wort, and others. Attorney General Schneiderman requested that companies provide detailed information relating to the production, processing, and testing of herbal supplements sold at their stores, as well as set forth a thorough explanation of quality control measures in place. The letters come as DNA testing performed as part of the ongoing investigation of the Attorney General's office allegedly shows that overall just 21% of the test results from store brand herbal supplements verified DNA from the plants listed on the product's label, with 79% coming up empty for DNA related to the labeled content or verifying contamination with other plant material. The retailers with the poorest showing for DNA matching products listed on the label was Walmart. Only 4% of Walmart products tested showed DNA from the plants listed on the product's labels. Now, this investigation makes one thing abundantly clear. The old adage, buyer beware, may especially true for consumers with herbal supplements, said Attorney General Schneiderman. The DNA test results seem to confirm long-standing questions about herbal supplement industry. Mislabeling, contamination, false advertising are all illegal. They all also pose unacceptable risks to New York families, especially those with allergies to hidden ingredients. At the end of the day, American corporations must step up to the plate and ensure that their customers are getting what they pay for, especially when it involves promises of good health. As a sponsor of a measure that would require labeling that states whether a product has been evaluated by the FDA or not, and legislation to establish a dietary supplement safety committee, I fully support the Attorney General's efforts in this area, said New York State Senator Ken Laval. I will continue to fight for legislation that will provide adequate labeling for information for the public. Since 2005, he sponsored legislation to create a dietary food supplement safety committee. The bill was crafted for the very same reasons the Attorney General is targeting retailers selling generic supplements that may or may not contain the substances contained on the labels. I support the Attorney General's efforts and will continue to push for language in this bill, A3548, to help reduce this kind of consumer fraud. We need adequate standards of being enforced over these dietary supplements so consumers will feel confident knowing what they are buying. The evidence for these herbs, especially its effectiveness, is sketchy to begin with. Senior nutritionist of Center for Science of Public Interest, David Shart, said, but when the advertised herbs aren't even in many of the products, it's a sign that this loosely regulated industry is urgently in need of reform. Until then, and perhaps even after then, consumers should stop wasting their money. Attorney General Schneiderman has done what federal regulators should have done a long time ago. Now, I don't need to continue reading on here. This possibly could be strictly an attack on the herb and dietary supplement industry, because of course we know any government agency or anybody in power is going to be effectively supporting the pharmaceutical industry, whether you're aware of in this, these types of articles or not. I don't necessarily doubt that's true. What I'm saying is there are a lot of good companies out there. I personally have always been suspicious, and maybe my guest here is Doug. He's the owner of a health food store in Michigan, and I'm sure we both have seen, and everybody in listening to me have seen the very cheap stuff, like the ones mentioned, ginkgo biloba, St. John's wort, maybe only $5 a bottle. And the reality of the situation is those products generally do cost quite a bit more. And so when you're looking at the types of places that were listed in the article, most of us who are into health generally won't go to any of those places for a true quality product when it's relating to health. Do you have any views of this on this, Doug? This whole thing?
Yeah, I agree. Supermarkets and CVS, different drugstores have gotten into the supplement business, especially with the popular certain fads come around like fish oils, and a lot of immune system problems in our country right now because of all the electromagnetic radiation, lack of vitamin D in the winter, and people go in and look for a plant that'll help a lot of memory loss, so they go after ginkgo, and a lot of immune system, nasal discharges, colds, flu, so they go after echinacea. And I would say that a lot of those places like Walgreens and Walmart probably have a pharmaceutical company and not necessarily a vitamin, nutrient, mineral company making up their supplements.
So what would you think? What's the difference then between a pharmaceutical company and like what I use for my product, a company that makes real food products or herbal supplements?
Quality. The FDA looks closer at companies that sell in health food stores and make label claims, sell multi-nutrients. And I would assume that, a pharmaceutical company making up nutrients, they can't do it in fish oils, of course, but in vitamin C and other supplements, they might use synthetic organic chemicals somehow to make ascorbic acid for instance, rather than gain it from a live plant source. I know it takes about 2 yards of ginkgo leaves to make a paste that gets reduced down into about a 16-ounce canister of bioavailable ginkgo. And a lot of people take ginkgo because it crosses the blood-brain barrier, and it elevates mood, and it also helps memory.
Doug, let me ask you a question. I know you have a degree in pharmaceutical something. What is the degree you have?
It's pharmacy technology.
Pharmacy technology. Okay, so so why did you go from a that is more of a mainstream medical route, and now you're into natural things. Why did you choose that, or did you choose it before you went into natural?
Well, I just wanted to learn about it. I have relatives that use orthodox medicine. A lot of people come in my store. They're completely challenged because they're on a lot of medications, statin drugs, and things that render their liver in a condition where they would have a hard time absorbing nutrients. All the people that are on high blood pressure meds that try to balance out some the side effects with nutrients are challenged, and it's just another area of knowledge that is a good thing to know when you have a health food store or not. How they make up pharmaceuticals, and mostly they block an activity like an ACE inhibitor or beta blockers, painkillers. They block a pathway. Statin drugs block your liver from producing cholesterol, which you need to make vitamin D, and CoQ10, which sits on every cell and transfers energy. So it's a good thing to know that you're wasting your time sometimes with people on multiple number of meds. It's pretty hard to get over long term, your digestive tract working properly, and your brain and neurotransmitters working properly with a lot of these meds.
Okay, sorry to the people on Ustream. I'm having to adjust the volume a little bit. My voice carries a lot more than Doug's, and so the volume is about best I'm going to be able to do for those on Ustream. I'm trying to hold the microphone, the phone, closer to Doug so that if the radio comes out
I'll
balanced.
talk louder.
Well, that's okay. So these companies now, probably Walmart and Walgreens, and they probably have their own little. They make their own batches and they bottle it themselves, and then they sell it to their own stores. So probably you would think that a Walmart in New York is also going to have the same product that a Walmart in Oregon or some other state. Probably they're all, every single state is probably having the same thing. Wouldn't you
I
think?
would assume, and I would even guess that Walgreens probably uses the same manufacturer, big pharmaceutical like Pfizer, to make their supplements also. And they just change the label, the number of milligrams, the size of the tablet, and the amount of tablets or capsules within a container.
And I know of those of us in the more natural and really knowledgeable about health, I don't buy anything from Walmart as far as any kind of herbals or Walgreens. And GNC was, in my opinion, was never even considered a health food store, in my opinion. They're more of a sports type, bodybuilder type place, as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly.
As far as health goes, they aren't. And I don't know if you want to say anything negative about them.
I'm not familiar with their line. I've gone in their stores maybe once or twice in the last 25 years, but I'm not sure who makes them. I go to a lot of Natural Products Expo. I never see any of their franchises there, so I'm not sure who makes their nutrients and what quality they are.
And then Target was the other one listed in the article. Again, I don't. When you see a bottle of any of those things, St. John's Wort or Ginkgo Biloba or any of those things so cheap like that, and wow, this is a lot cheaper than. Well, maybe there was a reason for that, because maybe they didn't have anything. And the really key part about it, one of the articles I read, it said that it had contained a lot of wheat products in it, which on the label said was gluten free. And so it could actually be a little dangerous to have our part, not only ripping off the consumer than not getting what you expect to pay for, but maybe getting something that could be damaging to somebody who has an allergy or peanuts or something like that, where they could have severe reactions to it. So this is probably a nationwide thing with those stores and maybe other stores. And in fact, how can we really be sure? It's a buyer beware. Here in your store, have you ever heard of any of your products having issues like that?
No, I think that what's in them is in them, and you can bite into a gel cap and you can taste and smell cod if it happens to be that. And most nutrients are made by companies that source out their products and are scrutinized pretty heavily by the FDA. So a lot of premium research labs, they've bought mass spectrometers for a couple $1 million. And when the FDA comes in and makes a challenge on some of their label or the amounts, they can prove it using quantum physics devices that can tell you the weight and every element and plant or animal substance within a nutrient.
Yeah, this article is saying they use DNA testing. I'm not sure exactly what that means. Yeah, but a mass spectrometer, I think, can do that also.
I'm not sure. I think this is a good, favorable thing that an attorney general would do that in the state. I know in our state, attorney generals come out and close a couple compounding pharmacies, but that was mostly to help the bigger pharmaceutical companies. But if I would have been surprised if that had been the FDA that had spent that money and time and gone in and checked out Target, Walmart, Walgreens. They usually leave those companies alone.
Do you believe this is a legitimate attack then?
Yeah, it could be. I did receive a magazine in the last week from the Natural Products Association and a magazine called Whole Foods, which is not connected to Whole Foods stores. And I think they mentioned this very thing, but I haven't had time to read it yet.
Okay. So we're talking about, and we had a caller come on. Is a caller interested in adding anything to this, or we'll just continue on here? We probably don't need to spend any more time on that particular topic. Because I'm looking around in the store here, and you can see if you're on Ustream, you can see in the background, you can see lots of things on the shelf. Um, there's a lot of products out in the market. You probably have 100 companies represented here, I would guess. I mean, just as a rough guess, not just my product, but hundreds of other products. And it's like there's so many people out there doing things, and frankly, even though I developed my product, I don't make it myself. I have to I have to depend on the company that I've hired to make it for me to put the right things in it that I tell them to put in it. Now, I can't be 100% sure. Now, they're a ISO 9000 and they're certified this and that, all the different certifications you get. So I firmly believe that's what's in it. But this could happen to any company unless they make all their own products themselves. And now here we have Walmart and Target and GNC supposedly making their own products, but yet they didn't have control of what went in their own products. And so that's kind of disturbing. So a lot of us have probably bought things unsuspectingly that we have been potentially damaging to our bodies, but at best, not effective.
Right, and the older you get, the harder it is to take an oral supplement and break it down in your tract, get it in your bloodstream, and get it to your cells and have it actually work. I've noticed that people are so mineral deficient in America because the minerals are out of soils. If you're drinking coffee, alcohol, or sugary water, pops, you're taking diuretics that pull minerals out of your body because you need those alkalizing minerals to neutralize the acid in those things. So younger people can take a mineral tablet made out of rock and break it down and gain usage from it, but a lot of the older people can't get it broken down. They don't have enough hydrochloric acid in their stomach, or they just are not, it's too much of a challenge going through their liver, gallbladder, and into their bloodstream. So sometimes just to get minerals and get the vitamins adequately in a person over 70 years old, they need a greens mix, and they need to know where that green, where the contents of those greens came from. Because organic doesn't mean, it just means that there's no pesticides, herbicides, or fungicides. It doesn't mean that the soil that is sourced isn't demineralized from over-farming. I know you make a greens mix and have sourced that. I go to Natural Products Expos and I talk about minerals in the soil for people like Pines and Premier Research Labs, other people that make greens mixes. So ultimately, it's a food, it's a meal replacement, a good greens mix as a supplement.
Let me ask you about this product, and we won't even have to mention a name, but I know that this stuff sells, and we're talking about minerals. This is a product, and I can show it on Ustream. It's not a big deal. It says it stops leg and foot cramps in about 1 minute. It's a liquid. This is what it looks like for those of you that are on Ustream. And what ingredient in there is the missing ingredient mineral? I'm sure that causes us to have leg cramps. What are we missing?
I would say magnesium.
Magnesium. So this is high in magnesium, and it's a liquid, so it gets to the system quickly.
I would guess when it's a proprietary blend, they tell you what's in there, and it's apple cider vinegar base, which helps you make hydrochloric acid in your stomach and helps break down foods all through the digestive tract. So it seems to work for both heartburn. I know I play hockey late at night, sometimes come back, I'm starving, I'll eat, and I'll lie down. I have really bad heartburn, I get up and take a couple swallows of that, it just works. Walk around for less than a minute, and boom, it's over. It just happens to be a real good idea, and it's inexpensive, for around $10, and no one I've ever sold it to has said it didn't work.
Right, they're claiming this is an old Amish formula. But if they took a magnesium capsule, it wouldn't have the same effect. It would take a lot longer, right?
It might, yeah. And well, for leg cramps, I think that it takes a little longer to work anyway. So if you're waking up in the middle of the night with your calves or your toes cramping, it might take a little bit longer than it would take to neutralize excess stomach acid from heartburn.
Okay, well, let's talk about stomach acid. So, but for leg cramps and for other cramps, magnesium. So we mentioned twice now stomach acids, not hydrochloric acid. Here's another product. This is actually by the same company that makes the one we just talked about. And I'm not trying to promote this company any necessarily, but those on Ustream can see it. And this says stops acid reflux in about 1 minute. And this is also a liquid. So tell us about acid reflux, because that's something a lot of people suffer from.
It is because my best reference, by the way, is a guy on the radio every day, Dr. Marshall. You can go on qnlabs.com and call their order line and see where Dr. Marshall is on the radio in your area. He's almost every state, and I started listening to him about 12 years ago, and he's probably fixes most everything that goes on can go wrong with the human body, and he's really a dedicated researcher. But anyway, he makes the claim, and proved this out, is that if you get a lot of heartburn and you take hydrochloric acid, it should relieve it, unless you've got some kind of scar going across the center of your body, interrupting the governing vessel. And that's a lot of, it could be bad dental work in the front four teeth, it could be a blow to the head, it could be pierced tongue, scars anywhere, like a C-section, episiotomy particularly. After about 10 years, they'll sedate the stomach and maybe other glands and organs in the center of the body.
Okay, now back up a second. Now we have acid reflux, and most people think you've got too much acid, and so you're going to take something to try to neutralize the acid. Now you're saying taking more acid, hydrochloric acid. Okay, and so what do you mean, because you're probably confusing a lot of people. I've heard this before, so I understand what you're talking about. Scarring across the midsection. What do you mean by that now?
Well, a scar, we kind of know that our whole body has a frequency, a unique frequency to us. You go back into occult sciences, they talk about an etheric body, and this body kind of controls the energy centers, or what's known in Ayurvedic medicine as chakras, and there's 7 of them, and those kind of override the meridian energy. And now that we have devices based on quantum physics, we can measure meridian flow, and this goes back thousands of years in Chinese medicine, and they call it a qi energy. It is measurable and detected, and it travels along meridians based on glands and organs. Like you have a heart meridian, a gallbladder, a liver, a large intestine meridian, etc. So if you have a scar, and chiropractors that I've been going to that know about this and do remediate scars, or at least can test kinesiologically to see if that scar needs to be remediated. And what they did was have you bite into a wheat germ oil capsule or take some vitamin A and rub up for about 15 minutes twice a day for a month, and that scar, you'll actually physically break some of the adhesions down, but it'll start testing on, and the meridian going through there won't jump to another meridian. But if it does, if the scar is long enough, it usually takes 10 to 20 years, and it starts jumping to another meridian, and then it begins to sedate the gland or organ on that meridian. And one way to find this out is if you have paired organs, and only one is bad, it's very likely to be an interference field. If your left kidney, your right adrenal, your right lung, and your left eye, and only that, it's very likely you've got a vaccination scar, a surgery scar, a blow to the head, a puncture wound, or some kind of metal in your body that's creating that interruption.
Okay, well, now all that you just said, I don't think I've ever heard a medical doctor talk about any of that, and I don't think the pharmaceutical company would agree with any of that. We're talking about energy here. In fact, I think there's a pill they have to try to reduce your acid reflux, and that basically is an antacid, isn't it? Try to de-acidify.
Yeah, and they work. If generally they'll work and neutralize that acid, but you're not really deficient in an antacid. What happens is you're producing all this hydrochloric acid slowly. You probably had beverages with your meal. You lie down, and it sort of just by gravity comes back into your throat. But the caveat is that if you take more hydrochloric acid and it doesn't relieve it, it makes it worse, you have something sedating your stomach. And it's not really hydrochloric acid, it's lactic acid from the lower intestines backing up into the esophageal area and causing heartburn. And then you have to find out what it is. You have to see if it's bad dental work in those front 4 teeth, or if you've got a scar going across the center of your body.
Okay, well, what about this stuff now then? What's the ingredient in here that you think would stop acid reflux?
I think it helps you make hydrochloric acid, apple cider vinegar. It's fermented, live. You know, it has the Ma, going back to the Bragg era of apple cider vinegar. And it's just a fermented fruit. It's changed its constituency into, whatever number of chemicals and foods and maybe any thing that will ferment something else is a microorganism or a fungi. So it probably has beneficial microorganisms and fungi in there, along with whatever else that they put in. I think the company itself grows acres upon acres of garlic, and I buy garlic oil from them, and I'm not sure what else is in it. I haven't even looked at the label.
Well, I'm looking at the label now, and for one thing, they say it can take from 20 seconds to 2 minutes, up to 2 minutes,
For which one?
for this to work. Well, both of them actually say the same. Both these different, the same company. One stops acid reflux, one stops leg and foot cramps. But the interesting thing about it, I'm looking at the ingredients of both of these. And ingredients, basically, this is a question we were just talking about, what ingredients and products. Now, you said it was proprietary. Now, they don't even list the ingredients on you, other than it says made from certified organic apple cider vinegar and all natural ginger and garlic juice. And frankly, both of these have the exact same ingredients listed. So obviously there's something else in here, but that doesn't list it on the label. Can a company? I mean, is this common in the supplement industry where they don't have to list it?
It's like this guy Wallach, who's done a lot of research on diseases and death, and has formulated products that work on a health condition. And when they say, hey, you can't do that unless you prove it, and he does. And so far, I would say they've proved that works. It's sold all over the internet. I've never heard anybody complain. People come in smiling, especially older people, and buy 3 or 4 bottles of it. So it's not just taking your leg cramps and acid reflux. It's helping the whole digestive tract. It's adding some garlic, which is an antibacterial, and ginger probably helps the digestive system as an anti-inflammatory also.
But they show the exact same ingredients on both these products, and obviously there's something different. One we think has magnesium. Do you know what the other one might be in this one with the acid reflux? Do you have any idea what that might be?
It would have come from the apples, the minerals, the magnesium, but they may have added it. I don't think they have to tell, because someone's going to copy them and try and compete. But so far, I think that they make it relatively expensive, and it's a good idea.
Well, people that buy this, of course, and you talked about the companies that works. So why is anybody complaining about it? Well, that would be exactly the reason why a pharmaceutical company might jump on it and send at the FDA on a company like this that makes something that really works, because people don't really need this to stop acid reflux. What they need is a pill called Prilosec. Is that what they sell for? They have a Prilosec deficiency. They don't have a apple cider vinegar deficiency or whatever else is in this product. So the pharmaceutical company will tend to have products like this removed from the market if it really does work, because it's interrupting with their sales. I mean, that's my
if they
guess.
get away with it, but they'll get a lot of people mad, and Legally, they really can't do it, and hopefully these companies will fight the FDA when they try and stop that.
Well, they get us mad about a lot of things all the time anyway, about things they do not only in health industry but government too. I mean, it seems like that's what they're in the business of, making
It
us
seems
mad.
like they want to take things that help you get well off the market, and any GMO doesn't even get scrutinized by the FDA. It's automatically on the market, and as well as most pharmaceuticals, they don't run the double-blind, placebo, cross-population tests on a lot of these drugs and vaccinations. But one final idea about hydrochloric acid is, you mentioned Prilosec is a protein pump inhibitor, and people get heartburn chronically. They give them this pill to stop their stomach from producing hydrochloric acid,
Wow.
which is just the opposite of what you want to happen. Because when you hit 70, you produce about 50% of the hydrochloric acid you did when you were 30. And when you're 90, you might produce 3 to 5% of the hydrochloric acid you did when you were 20. Which means when I leave here, I'll have tons of hydrochloric acid, a whole root cellar full of hydrochloric acid, because it's a methylator. It's really trimethylglycine, and you take it on an empty stomach, and it can go in your bloodstream, mop up nanobacteria and infection sites, or it will just go back into the stomach and remethyl your existing cells in your stomach. And you could be 85, 90 years old, start taking 10 or 20 of these a day, and in a year you can wind up with a digestive system of a 40, 50-year-old. And then you'll break down cooked food, protein, and fat, so that when it hits your small intestine, it can ferment into B vitamins, etc., etc. So it's really an extremely important thing to know about, both methylation and hydrochloric acid, because people really, if they're left alone and aren't on a lot of pharmaceuticals, they'll die eventually because they'll stop digesting their food.
Yeah, they can't get any nutrients out of it anymore.
They can't break it down and digest it, and basically we live from 90 to 120 years because of that, and then it just goes into the colon undigested, it putrefies, it goes back through the portal vein into the liver gallbladder to have another chance, and people store those toxins, undigested food, and fat cells in their lymph system, and basically it thickens their blood, and blood sugar goes up, and blood pressure goes up, etc., etc. And if you want to extend the lifespan of a human being, they should take hydrochloric acid. If you want to get twice the life of your span out of your dog, which is a pure carnivore, basically wants raw food, raw fat and protein, and they gobble their food, you can put 10 hydrochloric acid tablets in their food, and they'll double their lifespan. A German Shepherd, they would probably die 12 to 14 years, but live 30 years.
Okay, so now a lot of people are thinking, I can hear people thinking right now, well, if I take that much hydrochloric acid, that's going to give me stomach ulcers. Is there any truth at all to that?
Listen, I've been a proponent of this general theory of health that you want to avoid a lot of foods that rob you of nutrient. You want to find out what works for you. Blood type diet, paleo diet. What do you crave that's natural? A lot of people do way better on vegetable proteins, and some people, like blood type O's, can eat a lot of fat. So once you find out what you can do that gives you energy and health, stay reasonably nutrient loaded. You almost have to take supplements, especially minerals to maintain health, especially if you're busy. And if you can, and I believe in constantly detoxing. Look at all the herbs in Swedish bitters or fluorescence or Essiac tea, and constantly take those so that you're not storing a lot of junk in your lymph system and in your liver and your different organs, or even in your muscle tissue and fat cells. If you can do that, then I think I would go ahead and try and thrive. Take nutrients like DHA that'll feed your brain volume, take a lot of hydrochloric acid that'll keep your digestive system working, and you can take mega nutrients and more or less thrive rather than just be disease-free.
Okay, so now hydrochloric acid is very important, and since we're kind of on the beginning stages of digestion, of course, before you even gets that far, you need to chew your food thoroughly. Your body wants, let's say you're eating an apple, it doesn't want chunks of apple, it wants applesauce basically. So you need to chew it thoroughly. But what about, and there's another important thing that I think you probably know quite a bit about, what about digestive enzymes?
The same thing. I mean, we're designed to eat raw foods, and I just started eating raw meat, raw hamburger. If I find a grass-fed animal, and boy, it tastes better. It goes through you a lot easier, and it just tastes better. I just sear the outside. A lot of cod or salmon, I barely sear the outside. Just heat it a little bit. It's virtually raw.
Now the searing it a little bit is just to kill the bacteria that's on the outside of the meat, right? Because there won't be any inside the meat, right?
Just bacteria that's grown from the air and you know, that's been around because it's been butchered or filleted.
Okay, so now the meat in there has, the reason you're eating it raw is because the enzymes are still intact, because as soon as you cook food, it destroys all the enzymes, anything over about 120 degrees. So now the protease, the enzyme in the meat, is there in the meat, so that when you eat the meat, now that's the protease in the meat is going to help you digest it without having to produce it yourself, which when we age, it basically, our body's ability to produce enzymes drops off dramatically, just like the HCl, like the hydrochloric acid you were talking about. And so even eating raw fish, raw meat. Now, what about raw ham? Do you eat raw hamburger?
Yes, I like hamburger better than raw any other kind of red meat.
Okay, so but now there you're risking, because you're grinding it up, mixing the bacteria potentially in with the rest of the meat, and searing the outside.
But it's cold, and it's we can handle bacteria. Hydrochloric acid will break down bacteria.
Right. Now there's the key. What he just said. Now, because our digestive systems aren't up to par, I think that's why we have to have our cooked food, because we do succumb to problems if we don't have the bacteria and things killed. But hydrochloric acid in your stomach is going to kill viruses and bacteria if you happen to eat it.
Sure.
So that if your digestive system is up to par, you can eat a lot more than you could normally eat, potentially, without getting sick.
Yes. You know, getting back to the whole enzyme thing, our pancreas is at birth for most people, for certain white people, 20% of the white population produces lactase and can handle dairy. But almost all humans produce amylase, protease, and lipase in their pancreas. It's not a lot. And so if you're blood type O and you're eating a lot of fat and protein, it's a nice idea to take extra enzymes if you can find them. I buy protease for a number of reasons. Protease is another big secret. It's probably the best proteolytic enzyme or systemic enzyme that can mop up disease. You take protease on an empty stomach, it'll bind with white blood cells, and if you have a sprained ankle, it'll go down and eat up a lot of the dead cells and infected proteins in your bloodstream. But it also goes after viral material and bacterial material, whether it's in your urinary tract, in your ear canal, or where it is. If you take protease on an empty stomach when you have the flu, you'll start reversing that process.
So proteolytic enzymes are basically the same enzymes as digestive enzymes, except that it's primarily protease.
Proteolytic are some systemic enzymes are proteolytic, but when you look at a label and it says proteolytic enzymes, they'll add bromelain, papain, and all in protease and amylase and lipase and a whole bunch of naturally occurring plant enzymes along with it, and that's considered a proteolytic enzyme. A lot of athletes use them. People that work on sports injuries use proteolytic enzymes constantly, and but you do make several of those on your own, and they're called systemic enzymes. And if you're not compromised and you have enough nutrients and you don't overtax your digestive system, you're going to make those yourself, and your recovery period from an injury would be shorter, or from surgery would be shorter, or your recovery period from a bacterial or viral infection would be a lot shorter.
Okay, we mentioned, let me see if my memory serves, protease is for proteins, lipase is for fat, lactase is for the dairy products, amylase is carbohydrates, is that right, or what's amylase?
Starch.
Starches, okay. And these are, and what we're talking about here with enzymes, for those of you who don't know, it's because a lot of people might be in a beginner's level. Going back to the hydrochloric acid in your store, it's going to be called HCl. Here for enzymes, basically you're looking for something called digestive enzymes or enzymes, and most companies that make enzymes, it's going to be in a capsule form. I don't think they make it, well, there probably is tablets too, but I think most of them are capsules.
Yeah.
And you take the capsules, and from my experience with enzymes, because in the dark field microscopy, what I would see a lot of my viewers don't know, I do a process called dark field microscopy where I look at a drop of blood under the microscope. And one of the most things I saw, 90% of the people I saw all the blood cells stuck together in something we call either rouleau or blood cell aggregation, which is generally attributed to the lack of assimilating their proteins. And so usually that would mean that the person's digestive system isn't up to par and they're not assimilating the proteins. So adding a digestive enzyme when they eat food in the form of a capsule, unless they're going to eat the raw food. If they're going to eat the raw food, then you don't need the enzymes. But most of us don't eat raw food. So if you're going to eat cooked food, a cooked steak instead of a raw steak, then you're going to need to take protease with it, and that's going to help you digest the proteins. Because I've also found that in my research that there really is no such thing as a protein deficiency in our society today. We really have too much protein. Yeah, so the extra proteins, for those of you going to GNC or whatever and buying all this bulk powder and trying to bulk up or whatever, think you need more protein, you're dragging yourself down. From my opinion, from what I've seen in the blood of people, you're dragging yourself down, your blood's all stuck together, then all of a sudden you have to produce a whole lot more red blood cells because about 80% of your blood cells are blocked when they're all stuck together, and then you can no longer get the nutrients you need to your cells, which is vitally important. So now your body's producing a whole lot more blood cells just to try to overcome the fact that they're all stuck together from excess protein. That's one of the things I found in the dark field microscopy. But these are capsules that are available at any health food store. Now, a lot of them also, you mentioned bromelain, and papain.
From pineapple, and papain is an enzyme that breaks down meat or protein, and it's found in the papaya. And those should be the only fruit you eat with a protein meal.
Now, I also heard from a company that was promoting their own enzymes, which of course may be a little skewed to their opinion, that a lot of companies don't have the true enzymes in their product. Just like we were talking about at the beginning of the show with what New York found in some major stores about. Do you know of a way to test an enzyme? In other words, can you drop it in water or something, or put it with some food and see what happens? Is there something you can test?
No, you'd have to trust them almost, but like protease is hemoglobin under tyrosine. It says so many units of HUT, and that's just the way they measure it. And they're all different. But you have to trust them, and you have to see if they work. Like Enzymatica makes a thing called virus stop, which is almost exactly like Digest Gold. It's just a multi-enzyme. And
Enzymatica is about the biggest company out there for enzymes because they specialize in that.
That's they do.
That's a common brand you'll find at the stores.
It's common, and but there's a lot. I go through catalogs of nutraceutical companies for practitioners and doctors, and there are a lot of companies that make up individual protein enzymes, specific, like people that are ways of digesting gluten and certain enzymes, and or they might have a problem with one or two enzymes, and you can isolate them and take them isolated. And I think that's a good idea with protease, the amount of research on it. Consider protease breaks down and eats protein, and consider that parasites are protein, bacteria are really protein, living cells, and viral material lives inside a cell, so they mop up all of that. Protease is a great thing to keep in your first aid kit, basically.
Okay, now can you, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but can you OD on enzymes?
I don't believe so, because enzymes are just another protein molecule. And your body would say, hey, we don't need this, we'll break it down and use it for something else. Getting back to one thing you said about raw food and the amount that comes with its enzymes, it is true that, you know, really good soil and a fresh piece of fruit or vegetable has all its enzymes in it. But studies show that vegetarian, raw food people eating a raw food meal still use up about 1,200 methyl groups per cell, whereas in cooked food they use up about 1,800 methyl groups. So you would add a third of your lifespan to your lifespan if you ate nothing but good sourced raw food, which is pretty hard to get unless you're growing it yourself.
And largely that's with the enzymes all intact because it's not been cooked.
Unless you want to get back into the whole idea of remethylation of your stomach lining, and I think that's a very good idea. And also remember that folate and B12 and pyridoxine and B6 are also methylators. But it's an extremely good idea to look into digesting your food. If you got a 4 or 5-year-old kid, start teaching them digestion.
And let's say people who are lactose intolerant, because we kind of brushed by that. Well, lactose intolerant are people who can't handle dairy. Now, because we pasteurize our dairy, that kills all the enzymes. Now, what about people, if people were to take lactase, which is the enzyme, in a pill form, would they be able to tolerate dairy? And would they, are the enzymes also in raw milk?
Yeah, I think raw milk would come with lactase, and you know, probably enough amount. How you gonna, if you take a tablet of lactase, you'd have to know how much lactose there is in each glass of milk you drink, so that you know you're getting enough. And if you're totally lactose intolerant, you're gonna have a reaction. Usually, if something's not digested, it immediately gets thrown up into the lungs and into the sinuses. The lungs are backup in Chinese medicine to the stomach and the intestines, the lower bowel particularly. But the idea of taking milk and homogenizing it and also pasteurizing it renders it pretty much useless. I don't think our genes recognize what the hell it is and can't handle it anyway. But for people that are lactose intolerant, why not get raw milk, ferment it into something else? Get the butter out of it, get the whey, make it into a cottage cheese, add some rennet, age your cheeses, or just get some keeper grains and make it into keeper. And it's go right into the small intestine basically, add B vitamins to your system. You look at some of these people that eat a lot of fermented food, Vilcabamba Valley and in Georgia, Russia, they carry their goats around with them and they basically ferment everything.
Now, fermenting is a whole other topic too, but one of the best sources, of course, you have probiotics which could be bought to try to help also with things, but actually your best probiotic is very simple, and that is not cauliflower, not cabbage either, sauerkraut.
Yeah.
Sauerkraut is a really good, you can buy these kombucha teas, but sauerkraut is a really good probiotic. But I had the question, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, if we eat raw cabbage, it's not sauerkraut, it hasn't been fermented yet, but it's going to be healthy, it's raw, it's got the enzymes in it. But when we ferment that, and a lot of sauerkraut is cooked, now the stuff in the cans is all cooked. Does that destroy enzymes? Does it?
Yes.
It will have to destroy the enzymes, but now by fermenting it, we're creating probiotics. Is that the way it works?
Yes. You're changing it into a fermented, favorable group of bacteria that will lodge and colonize in your small intestine and help you digest other things. But why not just make kimchi or sauerkraut out of raw vegetables.
We actually about several months ago we went to a health meeting where the lady that was attending the meeting or hosting it had some raw sauerkraut, and it was like a totally different.
Tasted better,
But,
and
yeah,
it was more filling, and
it wasn't soggy and dry or soggy like the stuff in the can. I mean, it's almost the difference between, for those of you who had raw spinach and spinach from a can, it was almost that different from the sauerkraut from a can versus the sauerkraut raw. So it was rather interesting to taste one like that. Also, something that was real interesting at this is going to be a shock for a lot of people who are listening here. Also at that meeting, they were promoting raw tobacco, eating tobacco. Now, tobacco is a plant, so it's not toxic in the raw form, and not, but it still has. It was. Do you remember much about what there was talked about with raw tobacco?
yeah, a gentleman there gives an hour and a half long lecture on it. But when the American Indian, tobacco is not native to America. But when Native Americans added it to their diet, it kind of completed, you know, the corn and their sage, and made a complete meal.
Okay, now you said add it to your diet, meaning they were eating it, not smoking it.
Yeah, you eat it.
Okay.
Although most American Indians started smoking and used it in pipe, and basically, you know, a pure organic tobacco. It's not the best way to take it. For eating it is probably better, but the nicotine, there's a lot of research that nicotine is naturally occurring in plants, and it's a real brain enhancer. And recently, I'm not sure which month it was, but in the last year, there's a Newsweek article about nicotine and the value of it for brain chemistry.
So nicotine is in the plant naturally. So when you eat the raw, you're eating the nicotine, but you're not getting all the side effects or from smoking it, like you would, all the smoke in the lungs and all the things that go along with it, the way it's grown.
I think they add the tobacco industries added things like polonium, which attracts radiation. They add all these other chemicals that make tobacco more addicting than just the nicotine. But in those quantities, yeah, I think nicotine for a smoker can be addicting.
So this is not dried like tobacco is. It's basically eaten raw. Looks a little bit different too.
A lot of people in Michigan here doesn't grow as well, but you can get I'd say a 20-inch leaf in a good hot summer, and you know, use it raw in a salad.
It sounds a little strange because of the way we're brought up about smoking and cigarettes. You're going to eat the tobacco. What about okay, with eating tobacco? You're going to have you're going to have all your nutrients. You're going to have all your nutrients. It's going to have the enzymes in it. The nicotine. What does the nicotine do? You said it's a brain enhancer. What else does the nicotine do? It's a stimulant, isn't it?
You know, it may be. I think it sedates people. Like you get all wound up and they want a cigarette, but
So a sedative rather than a stimulant.
I think so. Yeah. And it was sort of, you know, it's used. I think it's in other plants, and it's probably in peace pipes, and it's just a ceremonial herb.
I know based on what I do with radiation, a lot of you smokers out there would be really surprised to find out that when you smoke cigarettes, you're administering a whole lot more alpha radiation and some beta directly into your lungs, which is really not good. That's probably not talked about much with the smokers, the industry, but that's actually something that's very common with you smokers. You're getting a lot more radiation by smoking than you are if you don't. Of course, that's entirely up to you. Most everybody who listens to this know there's a whole laundry list of things that we have been told is bad about smoking cigarettes, and I don't know if you disagree with all of them or not. What do you think about the electronic cigarettes? Now you're trying to administer the nicotine directly to the lungs without all the extra stuff. What do you think of the electronic ones?
I don't know what you know. If they're heating it up and they're getting nicotine. And I don't know enough about them. I've heard a couple of negative things about them. You know, electronic cigarettes maybe is harmful as others or something to that effect. I didn't read the articles because I don't have time to read everything. But I would say you're better off buying an organic spirit tobacco cigarette with no additives from organic tobacco, and people that smoke those don't have they don't have a bad breath. It doesn't leave a residue, and they don't cough as much. And it's just a healthier vehicle if you have to have that nicotine.
Yep, and yeah, the nicotine's the addictive part of it. Addictive drugs, alcohol, nicotine, caffeine. What about, we don't really have much time here, maybe we don't have any time. Caffeine, do you disagree with caffeine as far as a supplement? Is there taking a supplement caffeine or a natural plant?
Yeah, it's in green tea, it's in a lot of things, but it's still, when it's heated up, it becomes, it's more acidic, and it becomes a diuretic. And I've noticed natural health product expos, there are companies that are making cold processed coffees that, where you can get whatever nutrients there is in a coffee bean without heating it up and making it acidic, robbing you of minerals, becoming a diuretic. But caffeine is, I'm guilty. I have a coffee, organic Sumatran coffee every once in a while, and all it does is make you urinate more than the liquid you take in. But I know how to cheat and take extra minerals, but I think I would leave it alone. It's really for enemas. It's a really effective treatment for cleaning out your colon if you take coffee enemas. But I would say if you can avoid caffeine, you're better.
Well, I've heard that before. What's in the coffee that helps detoxify for enema?
Yeah, for some reason, after 4 or 5 of them, if you're in a position on your right side, all this Pearson material about coffee enemas really detoxified all these cancer people and got your liver pathways of detoxing opened up. And people, hair, skin, and nails, if they a lot of men just don't want to take enemas, but people that do take them, all of a sudden everything changes, and they say, I've just had enough coffee enemas after 70. Their hair, skin, and nails start working better. Their liver, gallbladder starts working better. It opens up all those concentrated, gnarled up liver and bile veins in the liver, and it's something probably people should do every couple of years. I don't.
The Gearson method that you mentioned, that's one of the many methods claimed to fix cancer, let's say. We can't cure anything because we're not doctors, but in fact, I think the expo that I'm going to here in about a month and a half in Missouri, they had a booth the last couple of times there, strictly about with the Gearson method. They had actually people there that had people there doing that. So sorry about the other phones ringing here, folks. Again, we're in a health food store. We got to wrap it up here pretty soon, I'm sure. Depending, he's wrapping up now. This has been Craig and Doug, Forbidden Knowledge. You were listening live on February 18th. Not sure we're still on or not, if we've been cut off, but
How many minutes you got? You want me to...
It's already after 8 o'clock. And the website is forbiddenknowledge.info. Thanks everybody for watching and listening. So long. And thanks for everybody on Ustream.
So how do we find this?